Hello, vinyl community and YouTubers everywhere. Stomp Off Records. Their logo right there. One of their earlier catalogs, Stomp Off Records, was the largest producer of what you guys would call Dixieland traditional jazz ragtime. Of course, that has to include blues in the modern record industry. Produced over a period of, I didn't write down my time here, but 40 years or more, Stomp Off Records produced close to 450 titles. They did LPs early on, and they stayed with it even when the LP was virtually dead. And I've got a neat little story to tell you about that. And then they went to CDs. Now, I can't determine from the catalogs, which I'm going to show you here, exactly how many LPs they made, but I can tell from the numbers in these catalogs that of the approximately 450 titles they issued, at least 280 of them were on vinyl, and so I'm guessing the number probably went close to 300. In the early days, they issued these flyers announcing their new releases, and each one had a picture of the album cover and a description and telling what was in the tune titles. And here you had an order blank. As time went on, these were reprinted. It showed what was in stock, what wasn't in stock. And then after they'd been around a while, they started with record number 1001. This catalog starts with 1014 and goes up to 1100. What happened to the first 13? Well, by the time they were around long enough to print a fancy catalog like this, those first 14 records on vinyl were already sold out. So nice presentation, and be an order blank at the end of each one so that you could order. And of course, the order blanks here were issued at different times, so they may or may not show the first records. Here's a catalog showing records number 1151 through 1200. Again, these were real nice catalogs. Here's the catalog showing 1101 through 1150. Here is a catalog they did later on, kind of like a master. This shows catalog number from 1001, their first, through 1250, 250 titles. But of course, by this time they were all CD. The records were gone. Big, thick catalog. Lots of information. One of the things they put in here was a complete listing of song titles, so that if you were interested in a particular song, it would tell you which record that song appeared on. These were really valuable. That's one of the reasons I've kept these. Of course, this is one of my areas of primary interest for many years. And then after this one, they came out with catalog 1251 through 1300. And then the next 140 or so CDs, I don't believe, come out on one of these kind of catalogs. The business has probably developed to where it wasn't worth the cost to provide these kind of catalogs. These were fairly expensive to produce. And just a funny little story here, and then I'm going to show my collection of Stomp Off records, which are around 150, and of course I have CDs besides that. But Bob Erdos, the proprietor of Stomp Off Records, was a friend of mine who I knew for quite a while, but early on I complained to him in writing when I would order, quit making records, I want CDs, records are old. And I think it irritated him enough that he took me off of his mailing list. The best I can tell, I never got anything for quite a while from him, so I had to order through my father. And then, of course, later on he went to CD and so forth. But he told me a story that when records had completely died, he had a warehouse full of records he was paying storage on. And so he pulled a couple complete sets to keep for a library, and he pulled a few sets and give to a few libraries, and he actually had dump truck loads taken to the landfill and dumped because he was tired of paying the storage on all of those records when records didn't sell anymore. Of course, now all of those records are worth more. Easy, I think, $10 a piece for sealed ones. That's more than they sold for when they were new. Now, of course, paying the storage and the loss on the investment and so forth, who knows? But kind of a funny story, and I put this video up. People in the vinyl community, there aren't very many who are interested in Dixieland traditional jazz ragtime, but there are people on YouTube who are, so I thought I would put up this video kind of for posterity and tell a little bit about Stomp Off Records. And the few of you that might have any interest, leave a comment down below. Be happy to answer it. I've been involved in Stomp Off Records almost since they began, sometime in the early 70s. I should have wrote that exact date down, but here we go with the next little part of my video. I'm going to do a fairly quick, it's a little over 12 minutes long, through the majority of my records. Just gives you a little flavor, and yep, I am crazy. Thought I should mention Stomp Off had international distribution, so these records were sold all over the world. We're in all the major music stores in the U.S. and, of course, in Tower Records. Now, in the little flip video of my collection coming up, you're going to see me falter on the Morton Gunnar Larson record. I couldn't remember the name of the store where I made that blind buy. Of course, it was a Tower Records in Mountain View, California. That's the South Bay, south of San Francisco. In my old age, I just drew a blank on the name of Tower Records. But I bought quite a few of these over the year at Tower Records, and you can probably get a few of them in the Dollar Bin or the thrift store. Traditional jazz, not as popular as it used to be. My traditional jazz record collection on the Stomp Off record label. All of these are on the Stomp Off record label. I'm going to do a kind of a quick flip thing here. I may add a little discussion at the end. Here on the left, these are about 60 in this pile. Those are ones that my record store got a big collection of records that included a lot of traditional jazz, and I bought all of the ones I didn't have. Now, I already had nearly 60. This is the pile of the ones I already had. So the two piles there together add up to around 120. I don't have an exact count. And then right here, this pile, 34 records in this pile that says Down Home Blues, AcousticSounds.com, their vault, they sell used records. Well, they had about 140 records on the Stomp Off label, of which out of the 120 I have over there, they had 34 that I didn't have. And so I thought, well, I might as well keep going with these. I got that many now. Of the vinyl LP, before they went strictly to CDs, this label put out around 250 records, and I got probably 150 of them. So I'll flip through here pretty quick. See if I can get the camera in here right, and so the pile that I didn't already have starts out here with one of my favorite all-time records. This is Gulf Coast Blues CD, played by Dick Hyman. He's playing the music of Clarence Williams, which is mostly blues in a 1920s style. Now, I never got this record when it come out, wasn't aware of it, but this record was popular enough that a different label licensed this from Stomp Off and issued this, and I picked up the CD, and boy was I happy. Gulf Coast Blues, Dick Hyman, Waldo's Gotham City Band, Footlight Varieties, Ain't That a Grand and Glorious Feeling, Royal Society Jazz Orchestra, Vamp Till Ready, Tight Like This, Black Eagle Jazz Band, Red Roseland Corn Pickers. One of the other things is with Stomp Off, he hired several good artists to do a lot of the covers, and a lot of them you'll see have cartoon covers. Trust me, I'm a musician. Evergreen Classic Jazz Band, Charkey and Company, Charkey and Company, Charkey and Company. Here's one of those I was talking about, Charkey and Company Jungle Jamboree. A lot of the groups are European groups because this music is more popular there. Crazy Quilt, Chrysanthemum Ragtime Band, Uptown Jazz Band, Hot and Sweet Sounds of New Orleans with the Louisiana Repertoire Jazz Ensemble putting on the Ritz, Hambone Kelly's Lou Waters Jazz Band, San Francisco, like in the 60s, Get Out and Get Under the Moon, the Dry Throat Five, some more Gothay here. I should put this with the other ones. Grand Dominion Jazz Band, Ain't Nobody Got the Blues Like Me, Don't Give Up the Ship. Here's a piano player doing some Irving Berlin with a couple other guys. Jim Cullum Jazz Band. He plays down in San Antonio on the Riverwalk right now and has a radio show, I think a TV show, where they broadcast from the Riverwalk. Smiles and Chuckles, Waldo's Ragtime Orchestra, Peruna Jazzmen, Sage Hen Strut, Turk Murphy, South Frisco Jazz Band, Black Eagle Jazz Band, Jersey Lightning, South Frisco, Magnolia Jazz 5. I lived next door to this guy for a number of years, who was the bass player. Golden Eagle Jazz Band with Chris Norris, one of my absolute all-time favorite records. She is a fantastic blues singer of the type of songs like Ma Rainey and Bessie Smith. No, she doesn't sound like them, but she is a fantastic singer. Young Woman's Blues, same person. Broken Promises, Turk at Carnegie Hall, Black Eagle Jazz Band, Black Eagle Jazz Band, Paris Washboard, My Wife is Dancing Mad. Both of these guys are friends of mine. Dick Zimmerman and Ian Whitcomb. Territory Jazz, John Gill's California Sunshine Boy, Some Sweet Day. John Gill played with Leon Redbone and was his musical director for a period of time. Here's a banjo, Laughing at Life. Okay, we'll just go on here, not flip through the rest of these. There's another 15 or 20 records there. This collection, they weren't in slip covers. I put them all in the outer slip covers, but they're all near mint, and most of the records look like they had never been played. Really near mint. Somebody that had really taken care of their collection. I will check where the camera is pointed here. One of my favorite pianists in the whole world, which I recorded, Morton Gunnar Larson. He is on this album as a fairly young person, Canal Street Jazz Band, New Orleans Stomp. That's him on the piano. Very young. Here is one of my all-time favorite records. Again, the singer here, the Golden Eagle Jazz Band. And I got this on CD when it come out and never had the record, and this is one I went back and picked up. Thomas Ornberg's Blue Five. This is a Swedish group that's fantastic. There's a picture of Louis with his cute wife, Lil Hardin, and the boys. John Gill, Finger Buster. I've shown this one before, signed from him. I recorded 4 albums for him. Terry Waldo again, operates out of New York, so getting up around my age, is still very active musician today. Hot Attic, London Ragtime Orchestra, Rusty Taylor, one of those old-time blues singers, gals, good old bad old days. Carol Lay and Jim DePogny. Jim DePogny's a friend of mine, music professor at the University of Michigan. Here they are again. Original Salty Dogs with Carol Lay. I like the old-time blues songs, and I like modern recordings. Here's James DePogny, who is a pianist, and Butch Thompson is a pianist, doing some stuff together. Waldo's Ragtime Orchestra, Waldo's Gut Bucket Syncopators. A lot of these were the early records done on Stomp Off. And here was what introduced me to Morton Gunnar Larson. Plays various things here. I bought this record from the famous old record store that started in Sacramento. Was a blind buy. I'd never heard of him. I looked at the titles. I took this record home and played it. I was literally like Tom Cruise on the couch, jumping and waving my arms. It was that good. I got 1 copy and a sealed copy. Butch Thompson, one of the exponents of Jelly Roll Morton type piano. He played on, was a music director in the early days of Prairie Home Companion. Banu Gibson, good friend of mine right here doing ragtime. Tom Shea, Morton Gunnar Larson leading the Ophelia Ragtime Orchestra. More Rusty Taylor, Give Me a Call, doing old-time blues. Don Ewell, famous jazz pianist who was very active in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Tom McDermott, Rhythms and Ragtime, another good friend of mine. Jack Rummel, piano, another good friend of mine. Ray Skelbrid, piano, I recorded him. Another piano guy, Terry Waldo, Pass Out Lightly. These cartoon things were good. And again, Louisiana Repertory Jazz Ensemble, a great group from New Orleans. And there's another 20 or so records there. And the piles are too thick here to really go through them. But just a little quick to get to the end here. Down Home Blues, John Gill again, operating out of New York now. Ray Smith, top-notch piano player. Everybody's Rag. About half of these from Acoustic Sounds were near mint. Again, the records look unplayed, and about half of them were still sealed. I got a discount ordering a bunch of these, and the near mint ones are roughly $9 a piece, and the still sealed, which were most of them, you can see all of the shrinks there, were about $10 a piece. And that makes, you can probably find some of these if you're lucky in the dollar bin, but when you get mint sealed ones for $10, Jungle Crawlers, Stomping On Down. And like I've mentioned on a number of these records, a lot of the people in these groups, Neville Dickey from the United Kingdom, I recorded 2 CDs for him. He's got literally, he's been in the business for 50, 60 years, and he's got lots of records and stuff out there. West End Jazz Band, Red Hot Chicago, Fireworks, Rhythms Is Our Business, Stone Age Jazz Band, Dry Throat Fellows, Pickles and Peppers Ragtime Orchestra, Hot Ivories, Tony Caramia, Paramount Jazz Band, Marching, Ragging, and Mourning, Louisiana Repertory Jazz Ensemble of New Orleans. And again, there's 10 or 12 records left there, but I'm sure that's more than anybody in the vinyl community ever wanted to see of Dixieland / traditional jazz, all just the ones I have on the Stomp Off label. I got more.